Shabbaton ein nishkoach, zikro greyach hanichoach, Yona matzav o manoach, b'sham yanuchu yegiechoach, Yona matzav o manoach, ay ay ay, b'sham yanuchu yegiechoach, ay ay ay, Yona matzav o manoach, ay ay ay, b'sham yanuchu yegiechoach. Yom Shabbaton ein lishkoach, zichro greyach hanichoach, Yona matzav o manoach, b'sham yanuchu yegiechoach, Yona matzav o manoach, ay ay ay, b'sham yanuchu yegiechoach, ay ay ay, Yona matzav o manoach, ay ay ay, b'sham yanuchu yegiechoach. Welcome to Mizmor Monthly. I'm Cantor Sidney Ezer, and with me on piano is my friend and colleague Asher Farber. We are presenting music for the month of Cheshvan. And Chodesh Mevorach, Chodesh Tov to everyone. The month of Cheshvan, Mar Cheshvan, starts tonight. It is significant to note that the original name of this month was not Mar Cheshvan. We think Mar Cheshvan is Mar for bitter, which there is because of the fact that there are no holidays in Cheshvan. The Babylonian name was adopted when the Jews went through the 70-year exile between the first and second temples. The original name for this month is Bul, which denotes the idea of drying up as the leaves begin to decay with the approach of autumn. So we're going to be singing about different events that happened in the month of Cheshvan, and one of the events is the flood. The flood and the Parshat Noach, which we were just reading this week. The flood began, according to tradition, on the 17th of Cheshvan, and the waters receded by the following year on the 27th of Cheshvan, which allowed Noah and the other inhabitants to disembark. One explanation of this name, Bul, is that it stems from this month as the beginning of the rainy season in Israel. It is thus connected to the word Mabul, or flood in Hebrew. So I want to explain what you just heard. We opened up with a famous Shabbat Zemer, Yom Shabbaton, which was written by famed 12th century Spanish poet Yehuda Halevi, whose name is spelled in the acrostic of the stanzas. It describes Shabbat as a sign of the eternal covenant between God and Israel, and the middle stanzas describe how the covenant was formed at Sinai. But the also talks about the sweet odor of the sacrifice in line 2, which we are reading, the sacrifice given by Noah when he emerged from the ark. We have the idea of the Yona Matzav o Manoach, the dove that found rest. It says one cannot forget the Sabbath day. Its name is as sweet as the sacrificial incense. The dove found a resting place on this day, and it will offer rest for those of spent strength. So the month of Cheshvan is a bitter month, but when we have different events, some bitter events that happen, but there's also a sign of renewal. The same way that the flood waters receded, there's other songs that we're going to be performing on certain themes. Even though we may have some Mar Cheshvan is a bitter month, there's always some hope in the end. So we are starting with Yona Matzah, or Yom Shabbaton. That one version that we played was from probably a Vilna melody from Vilna in 1927. It's notated in a book. And the second melody we're going to sing for this is another common folk tune. So I'm going to ask Cal to put the first page of our lyric sheet on the screen, just the first verse, the Yom Shabbaton. You also, I think, have the option, if you wanted to download these this song sheets for your leisure, if you wanted to follow in the future. If this is being recorded, you can always watch this again and sing along. So please, if you want to, you're welcome to watch on the screen right now, or you can download these sheets as well to follow along.
All right, should we take it? Not just yet, but
okay. So join with us, the second melody, Yom Shabbaton. Yom Shabbaton ein nishkoach, ziro kereach hanichoach, Yona matzavo manoach, v'sham yanuchu yechoach, Yona matzavo manoach, v'sham yanuchu yechoach, Yechoach. Yom Shabbaton ein lishkoach, ziro kereach hanichoach, Yona matzavo manoach, v'sham yanuchu yechoach, Yona matzavo manoach, v'sham yanuchu yechoach, Yona matzavo manoach, v'sham yanuchu So, there are different events. The flood is one event that happened in the month of Cheshvan. As well, there is, we are going to present a couple of melodies related to the Ethiopian Jewish tradition or holiday of Sigd. Sigd begins on the it's celebrated on the 29th of Cheshvan. The first melody we're going to sing is Shir HaChasidah, the Song of the Stork. This is stork that symbolizes for the Ethiopian Jews their longing for Jerusalem and the land of Israel. The song describes the flight of the stork from Ethiopia to Israel, passing the Nile River. The Beit Yisrael in the song are the Beta Yisrael, the Ethiopian Jews. The Ir Haor that's mentioned in the song is Jerusalem, the final stop on the journey. And the ending of the song envisions the settling down in a peaceful Jerusalem. The writer is Chaim Edisis. He's a writer and actor in Israel of Ethiopian Jewish background. The music was done by Shlomo Gronich. He's an Israeli composer, singer, songwriter, arranger, and choir conductor. He's composed nearly 1,000 masterpieces, many pop songs, composition for orchestra, choruses, soundtracks, theater, dance, television programs. He contributed to the development of an authentic Israeli musical style which combines Eastern and Western traditions. He has an Israeli music style, combinations of progressive rock, jazz, classical music, soul, klezmer, Middle Eastern, and many, many other types of styles. So we're going to sing this song, Shir HaChasidah. This song talks about the idea of the Ethiopian Jewish dream to go to the land of Israel, symbolized by the flight of the stork.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. So, Chasidah, when I first thought Chasidah, very often you think a Chassid, like someone, a good righteous person, a person. Chasidah is actually Cantor City just said, it's a stork. It's one of the birds that's listed in the Torah. I think it's Parshat Shmini. I don't remember which Parsha, but
yeah.
There's lists of all the birds that are kosher and lists of that are not kosher. And Chasidah makes it that it's one of the birds. And I didn't, when I first saw the picture, I didn't know if it was a flamingo or a pelican. It's a stork. And we just sang songs about Yonah, a dove. Very different, but we're talking about, native birds to Ethiopia, native birds probably to Africa, and just their flight back to Israel. It's all symbolic about returning to Israel at one point. This song, I'm playing music, which means I have to read from left to right, but we have Hebrew that we have to read from right to left. So if you might join me, there's parts where I'm going to try and sing along to answer Cantor Sydney. Typically, the recording that we got this from, the idea we got this from, was the children's choir. And so they were singing, and very often the repeats as well would be sung by children. So the main part, I think, I'm singing Afa Chasida, which is like Afa, like the flying, Chasida, the stork is flying. So throughout the song, I'll be singing things like that. If you want to join me, Afa Chasida. Later on in the song, the words change, but if you keep singing Afa Chasida, it'll be fine. You'll see. All right. So.
Afa Chasida le'eretz Yisrael.
Afa Chasida.
כנפיים מניפה מעל הנילוס אל.
Afa Chasida.
אל ארץ רחוקה, אל ארץ רחוקה, אל ארץ רחוקה.
Afa Chasida.
מעבר להרים, שם בית ישראל יושבים ומצפים. חסידה, חסידה, צחורת צוואר, מה ראו עינייך, שירי לי ציפור. חסידה, חסידה, צחורת צוואר, מה ראו עינייך, שירי לי ציפור. שותקת חסידה, אינה פוצה מכות.
שותקת חסידה, אינה פוצה מכות.
נשענת על רגלה, ועוד מעט תחזור.
ועוד מעט תחזור.
תניף כנף גדולה, תניף כנף גדולה, תניף כנף גדולה.
תניף כנף גדולה.
בדרך אל הקור, בדרך תעצור, בציון עיר האור.
אפה חסידה.
חסידה, חסידה, אדומת מקור, האם ירושלים אותנו עוד תזכור? חסידה, חסידה, אדומת מקור, האם ירושלים אותנו עוד תזכור? לה 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 לה.
אפה חסידה, אפה חסידה.
לה 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 לה.
אפה חסידה.
חסידה, חסידה לבנת כנף, בשרי בשלום העיר, בשלום ירושלים. חסידה, חסידה לבנת כנף, בשרי בשלום העיר, בשלום ירושלים. אפה חסידה, אפה חסידה. Beautiful. The next piece we're going to do for you is in Amharic. It's a traditional Ethiopian Jewish song for Sigd, for the holiday of Sigd. Sigd, I'm going to take a few minutes just to explain what it is. As I said, it's celebrated on the 29th of Cheshvan. It's a special festival which comes from the Hebrew word for bowing or for prostration. It is referenced in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah as Chag HaKitzufim, the holiday of longing. So in the story, Ezra and Nehemiah, according to tradition, they climbed a tall mountain and prayed for the return to Zion. The same idea in Ethiopia. In certain villages, there was a certain mountain where they would go and celebrate Sigd on the mountain, and the same vision of going to Jerusalem. So again, it is celebrated 50 days after Yom Kippur, which is analogous to counting 50 days between Pesach and Shavuot. The holiday is celebrated now primarily to give thanks to God for the realization of the dream to make it to Israel. Now that after the operations and all the migrations from the Ethiopian Jews to Israel, now it's become more of a thanksgiving holiday. The main celebration is in Jerusalem, and since 2008, it is a recognized holiday in Israel. So a melody I'm going to sing for you in Amharic is a very short, easy melody. It's the third piece, Kiddush. So if Cal, if you can put up that on the screen, I'm going to just quickly teach it. The Shai Fardo, the person who taught this melody, he's an Ethiopian-Israeli activist and actor, and he founded Sigdayada, which is a festival which celebrates Ethiopian Jewish heritage. He immigrated with his family in 1984 during Operation Moses, and he spent almost a year in refugee camps in Sudan. And his festival that he initiated in Israel takes place once a year at the National Theater of Israel in the Habima in Tel Aviv. People of all backgrounds come for 3 days of food, music, poetry, presentations, and prayer. So here is this melody, a traditional song in Amharic for Sigd. Kiddush, 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 Jerusalem. It's basically Jerusalem, holy, holy, Jerusalem, holy, holy. It's a very simple melody. I'm going to teach it to you and sing it along with me. It has the idea that always the longing to go to Jerusalem has been in an Ethiopian Jewish identity. So it goes like this. Kiddush, 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 Jerusalem. That's all it is. Kiddush, 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 Jerusalem. Sing it after me. Here we go. Kiddush, Kiddush,
Kiddush, Kiddush,
Kiddush, Kiddush, Jerusalem.
Kiddush,
Kiddush, Jerusalem. Kiddush, 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 Jerusalem. Kiddush, 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 Jerusalem. You can imagine the enthusiasm when they sing, the enthusiasm and passion for the city for Jerusalem, for Israel, in a sense, from the Ethiopian Jewry, reflected in that simple chant that was sung back in Ethiopia on Sigd, and they still sing it today. So we're going to continue with another song called Shir Hamasa. This, again, the lyrics by Ethiopian Jewish writer and actor Chaim Idissis, and music by composer Shlomo Gronich. Gronich, he founded the Sheba Choir. It was a children's choir. The creation of this choir was one of the first attempts to blend the unique Ethiopian style with conventional Western practices. His evocation of their dangerous journey with poignant lyrics by Chaim Idissis captured the multiple facets of their experience as travelers and as immigrants. I'm going to read just a quick, some of the English translation of the Song of the Voyage, Shir HaMasa. This documents the feelings of going through the traveling from Ethiopia to Israel. The moon watching over above, on my back the meager bag of food, the desert beneath me, no end in front, and my mama promises my little brothers, Od me'at, od ketzat, a little more, lift your legs, a final effort before Jerusalem. The never-ending desert, the house of jackals, my mother calms my little brothers. Again, od me'at, od ketzat, soon we will be redeemed. We won't stop going to the land of Israel. And unfortunately, a lot of Ethiopian Jews did not make it. And here in this song, the mother, bandits attacked, and the mother is killed. And now the kids have to calm their brothers and say, just a little more, just a little more. In the moon, my mother's image looking at me. Mom, don't disappear from me. If only she was by my side now, she would be able to convince the Israelis that I am Jewish. It's a very sad song of the longing of going and the hardship of going to Israel. Shir HaMasa. הירח משגיח מעל, על גבי שק האוכל הדל. המדבר מתחתיי אין סופו לפנים, ואימי מבטיחה לאחיי הקטנים. עוד מעט, עוד קצת, להרים רגליים, מאמץ אחרון לפני ירושלים. עוד ירח החזק מעמד, שק האוכל שלנו אבד. המדבר לא נגמר, יללות של תנים, ואימי מרגיעה את אחיי הקטנים. עוד מעט, עוד קצת, בקרוב ניגאל, לא נפסיק ללכת לארץ ישראל. ובלילה תקפו שודדים, בסכין גם בחרב חדה. במדבר דם אמי, הירח עדי, ואני מבטיחה לאחיי הקטנים. עוד מעט, עוד קצת, יתגשם החלום, עוד מעט נגיע לארץ ישראל. בירח דמותה של אמי, מביטה בי, אמא אל תיעלמי. לו הייתה לצידי, היא הייתה יכולה לשכנע אותם שאני יהודי. עוד מעט, עוד קצת, בקרוב ניגאל, לא נפסיק ללכת לארץ ישראל. עוד מעט, עוד קצת, להרים עיניים, מאמץ אחרון לפני ירושלים. So, another event, we're going to leave the Ethiopian Jewish repertoire, and we're going to talk about Rachel Imenu. So also on the month of Cheshvan was the death of Jacob's wife Rachel, as well as the birth of Benjamin, which occurred on the 11th of Cheshvan. It was precisely the same day that Methuselah died on that day as well, the very day the flood had originally been slated to begin. So there's no coincidences in the Torah, so the rabbis ask a question of what is the connection between these two events, and what do they reveal about the essence of the month of Cheshvan? So, thinking about what Rachel and her son Benjamin stand for, respectively, we can see that Rachel represents the Jewish people in exile, and Benjamin represents the completed state of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. Rachel spent her entire life outside of Israel and passed away just as Jacob and his family entered the Holy Land. And the rabbis say her spirit accompanied the Jewish people as they went into the exile. And it is she who cries for her children in exile until the final redemption comes. So here is a song a song by it's called Rachel. It's lyrics and music by Avihu Medina. Avihu Medina is an Israeli composer, arranger, songwriter, and singer of Mediterranean, Middle Eastern Israeli music. He has a Yemenite background as well. His parents have come from Yemen. His father was a cantor. He's composed more than 401 Mizrahi music songs and released many albums. He is considered to be the best-known Oriental singer, and has composed many of the songs by Zohar Argov, by the late Israeli singer Zohar Argov. This is one of his songs dedicated to the situation of Rachel and the dream of basically her being reunited with her children. Shir Hamasa, Rachel.
Rachel.
If you want to put this up, Cal, you can put it number 5 in our song sheet. You can put it up on the screen if you want to follow along.
שמל אם הדרך הפרתה, נחלה לה רחל מנוחתה, על לחייה יורדת דמעתה, לא תדע כי ביה לך נחמתה. בכל לילה מזה שנים תעלה לה אל רום ההרים, אך לא תראינה הן וגם לא שומעים, בדממה תשב שומרת את הבנים. The chorus, join me. קומי נא מלך, שחקי פנייך, קומי ושובי נא אל בנייך. One more time. קומי נא מלך, שחקי פנייך, קומי ושובי נא אל בנייך. נחמי נחמי עמי, ומבכי קולך מנעי, כי סביב העמק ובהר, בנימין חורש בתבל, גם יוסף חזר. מרחוק כל מחייך שמעו, ונדרם לך הנה זכרו, להפריח שמותייך הנה שבוהם, על כן בהי דמעותייך בא לך מנחם. קומי נא מלך, שחקי פנייך, קומי ושובי נא אל בנייך. קומי נא מלך, שחקי פנייך, קומי ושובי נא אל בנייך. Join with me the chorus. קומי נא מלך, שחקי בנייך, קומי ושובי נא אל בנייך. שם על אם הדרך אפרתה, נחה לך רחל מנוחתה.
So I didn't want to say something before. I mean, I just didn't really know what to say. I'm not. I recognize that this might be. First of all, we're starting a new Jewish calendar year, and so this might be the first time that you're catching a Mizmor monthly period, and might not be. Maybe we're extremely fortunate and happy that many of you joined us last year as well. You know, I really think I think especially this month. And in general, like, our focus really is to share melodies with you that really show us that Jewish culture and identity and everything is broad. It's rich. There's lots of things that you don't get to hear all the time, and sometimes it's from geographic areas that we're not used to. Sometimes it's from events in time that we're not as much in touch with now. I think, I mean, we just sang Mizrahi music and modern Israeli music and Ethiopian music, and we're going to be singing Hasidic music, and we're going to be we sing Ashkenazi music, and we're singing. So we like to show off a little bit of different backgrounds and everything that we do, and the main goal of this program really is just to learn different things about Jewish music in general and how broad that can be and how broad that scope is, and just to have fun. So if you're here for the first time, great. If you're catching this on Facebook Live, fantastic. That's new this year. We didn't do that last year. If you're catching this on YouTube, we're going to be posting things also on social media and on YouTube, just so that people can catch them when they get a chance. And I hope we're enjoying this, and we hope you're enjoying it. So
thank you. Thanks very much. And as Asher said, we're going to change gears now. We're going to do music by Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, who many people know his music. But again, on the theme of Rachel, Kol Berama, or Vishavu Banim. It's number 6. The two number 6, and Cal can put that on the screen and people can follow along. It's again, it's taken from Jeremiah, from chapter 31, verse 15 and verse 17. It's from the Haftarah for the second day of Rosh Hashanah. Kol Ramah Nishma, a voice is heard in Ramah, crying voice. Again, Rachel mevaka al baneha, Rachel weeps for her children. Vishavu banim ligvulam, the children will return, they shall return to their own land. This again, the express, the Rachel and will be united with their children, and again, the exile, the Babylon exile, or the Gilut is basically over. Here's a melody by Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, and feel free to sing along if you know it. Kol berama, berama nishma, Rachel mevaka, vaka al banea.
ברמה נשמע רחל מבכה על בניה ושבו בנים לגאולה ושבו בנים A voice is heard on high, a crying voice heard on high. Rachel, Mother Rachel, she weeps for the sake of her children. The children, they will return to their own land. The children, they shall return to their own land. Sing with me on lie. Lie, 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 V'shavu banim ligvulam. V'shavu banim
hope of Rachel as we mark her yurtzeit in the month of Cheshvan. So now, in the month of Cheshvan, in the 16th of Cheshvan in 1938, is the anniversary of Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. And we're going to sing a piece of Lechadodi, liturgical text, which you all know from Friday night liturgy, written by Shlomo Halevi Al-Kabet. The music is from the choir book of cantor Avraham Dov Kahn of the Klaus Synagogue in Mannheim, Germany. It survived, this choir songbook survived the Kristallnacht pogrom, and Avraham Dov Kahn was the cantor at the Orthodox synagogue in the city of Mannheim, and he also taught Hebrew. And the synagogue's male choir songbook, there's the sheet music for various songs, including the Chadodi, which we have excerpts. We don't have all of the Chadodi, but we're going to sing some excerpts of it. On Kristallnacht, the synagogue was set on fire and went up in flames, and there's the whole, the Yad Vashem has his story. This book is part of the Yad Vashem collection. And here the story of Chazan Avraham Dov Kahn. He was on his way to synagogue, but he was arrested, and the rest of his family as well arrested. and they lost their belongings, and they had to watch all their books being burned. They were eventually released a short time, and they were able to make their way to Israel. If you look on the website, there's a story of how the book made its way back to the family. Two of his sons who lived in Israel were able to retrieve the book from someone who knew Chazan Abraham Dov in Germany when they were, and locate them in Israel. It's a fantastic story.
I just want to add, I know that Cal, I don't know if Cal can even zoom in on this, I don't even know. Like, just to give you a picture of what Cantor Sidney is mentioning, like, number one, when we were thinking of Kristallnacht, very often the music of Kristallnacht, rightfully so, is very serious. It's the night of broken glass, it's the night, it was a pogrom of destruction, of burning of buildings, of Jewish businesses, of synagogues, of books therein. And this was really interesting that we found this on the Yad Vashem website, as is with many recovered things from the Holocaust in general and Kristallnacht. We got basically a picture, sort of like, of the manuscript. It's a handwritten, it looks like it's like a handwritten book from the cantor of the synagogue. In the corner here of here, it says Lombak. I think that's probably the composer of this, the Chadodiyah. It was assumed that the cantor did not, in this case, it looks like the cantor did not compose it. And much like even here in Beth Tzedec or a different kihilot, you know, very often the chazan, or if there's a shul choir, will sing through different famous melodies of different chazanim of the time, or of different traditions. I think this is one of them. With that in mind, and Cantor Sidney also mentioned this, it's a fragment. So Lecha Dodi, many of you know Lecha Dodi very well. Number one, we're not going to sing the entire Lecha Dodi. It's all its entirety. But even if we wanted to, we can't, because we're missing some of the pages. And we're also reading off of a handwritten page where, in many cases, it's actually kind of hard to read. So if you don't, number one, if you can be a bit forgiving, remember this is a recovered document that was from Yad Vashem. I'm sure it's not digital yet, I'm sure, right? So we are just reading off this page from 1935, you said? 38? Well,
38,
well 38 was Kristallnacht,
before,
but this could be before that.
Sure.
So we're going to go through it, and I'm going to try and sing along. I'm going to chime in sort of when the choir, this was from a choir book, right? So there's parts written for the shul choir. So if you, by the first or second verse, kind of catch on to what's going on, feel free to sing along maybe, or hum along. And the way that this composition worked, number one, the verses kind of go back and forth. So the first verse is one melody, the second is the other, and it goes back and forth. And as is, like we still do today, very often, halfway through Lecha Dodi, when we get to Lo Tevoshi, often we change the melody. That's also a custom that we do. And there's a change of melody here as well. And we have, again, we'll sing what we have. We don't have every verse, but it's still just really beautiful to share. Should we, yeah?
Lecha Dodi Likrat Hala B'nei Shabbat Mekabela.
This is the choir.
Lecha Dodi Likrat Hala B'nei Shabbat Mekabela. Shamor b'zachor b'dibor echad hiriyanu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shem u'tiferet
The choir. And then Mikdash. Right, no, Likrat, you're right. Likrat
Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor ha-bracha merosh mikedem nezucha sov maaseh במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבל מקדש מלך לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה.
Yeah, sorry.
Mari me'ar kumi liv shirei tilotecha mi Aryan ben Yishai beit halachmi kurvael nafshi Allah lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We don't have yeah, so we're missing a page. We don't have Mhit Orari. I think we can skip to Lo Tevoshi now, just to show the other melody. So this switches time as well.
Lo tevoshi
counterpoint. We're missing more. I don't think we need to do more, but we're missing what would be Vahayu Liv Shisa, and then it goes back to this one for Yaminu Small, and then it would do a different one for Boish Shalom. We're missing, unfortunately, certain pages of this, but it's really beautiful either way. I wanted to show it.
And even if we do, and even if we did part of it, even so if we're in songs, it's a lot of melodies that are lost nowadays. So we're moving right along. We're going to also talk about The assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, Zichrono Livracha, occurred on the 12th of Cheshvan, 1995. So we're going to perform a song, Hareut, friendship, fellowship, brotherhood in arms. It's a Hebrew poem written by Chaim Guri and set to music by Sasha Argov. It was written a year after the outbreak of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War and commemorates those who fell in the war. It's often performed at memorial ceremonies. It represents the social ideals of the period of 1947-49 Palestine War, including one's sacrifice for homeland, the individual's concern for all, and the sanctity and the memory of the fallen. In the 1990s, this song also became identified with the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin. He admitted that this was one of his favorite songs, and it was performed by Shoshana Damari at the Peace Rally, at which he was later assassinated, and it is regularly performed in ceremonies commemorating the memory of Yitzhak Rabin. Chaim Guri was an Israeli poet, just died in 2018. He's a novelist, journalist, documentary filmmaker, one of the country's greatest poets. He was awarded the Israeli Prize for Poetry in 1988. Alexander Sasha Argov was a prominent Israeli composer. He's composed many popular songs. 1,200 works among them were Hareut, songs for the Israeli Defense Forces. And here again, Hareut, one of Yitzhak Rabin's favorite songs. An autumn night descends on the Negev and gently, gently lights up the stars. While the wind blows on the threshold, clouds go on their way. Already a year and we almost didn't notice how the time has passed in our fields. Already a year and a few of us remain. So many are no longer among us, but we will remember them all. Hareut, friendship.
Before we do this, can I make a suggestion? I'm just looking at the time because it's flying by. We have about just over 5 minutes, but we can go over as well.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we should do, maybe we don't do the next song, but we do the last one, just for time, and we can maybe introduce it now and just do, I'm wondering. Perhaps, I don't know. No?
We'll see, I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Let's
see
just
how
do it.
this goes,
Okay.
yeah.
על הנגב יורד ליל הסתיו ומצית כוכבים חרש חרש את הרוח עובר על הסף עננים מהלכים על הדרך כבר שנה לא הרגשנו כמעט איך עברו הזמנים בשדותינו כבר שנה ונותרנו מעט מה רבים שאינם כבר בינינו אך נזכור את כולם את יפי הבלורית והטוען כי ראו שכזאת לעולם לא תיתן את ליבנו לשכוח אבא מקודשת בדם את תשובי בינינו לפרוח הרעות נסנוך בלי מילים אפורה עקשנית ושותקת מלילות האימה הגדולים את נותרת בהירה ודולקת הרעות הנערייך כולם שוב בשמך נחייך ונלכה כי רעים שנפלו על חרבם את חייך הותירו לזכר ונזכור את כולם, את יפי הבלורית והתואר, כי רעות שכזאת לעולם לא תיתן את ליבנו לשכוח. אהבה מקודשת בדם, את תשובי בינינו לפרוח.
I think we had a late start, so I mean, if we can.
Yeah, if people don't mind, we'll
If
go
people
a
don't
bit
mind,
later.
maybe, yeah. People
That's
don't
fine.
mind.
That's fine.
We won't be offended. We don't. If you want to leave the Zoom, I'm afraid we don't know, so we'll never know.
We always plan too much, but at the same time, we only have 2 more songs, so it's okay.
Okay. The next piece, Lay Down Your Arms. Lyrics by Lisa Catherine Cohen and music by Doron Levinson. This, it's a peace song originally in Hebrew as Tefillah L'Shalom. It was composed by Doron Levinson, I mentioned, in 1973 after the aftermath of the Yom Kippur War, when Levinson was temporarily blinded at the time, having been injured during the war. And the song is a tribute to a fallen Israeli soldier. The lyrics are inspired by Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they teach their children war anymore. And later stage, English lyrics were added. It has been performed by many children's and adult choirs throughout Canada, the United States, and Israel. It's interesting how it came to be. Doron Levinson was commanding a tank battalion in the Israeli army, and one of his men with him was thought that it would be his last battle, and unfortunately that was his last battle. And he wrote after the death of his comrade. And he basically was not able to see. He was blind, but on the hospital pianos he found his fingers tracing out a melody expressing his anguish over his fallen comrade. And basically that's how the song came to be. It was performed in Toronto by the Habonim Youth Choir, founded by the late Esther Gunn Firestone and Ellie Rubenstein, with the conducting of the choir at the time. Lay Down Your Arms. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev. Dear God, please hear us, listen to our prayer, and help us do thy will upon this earth. Let the children suffer war no more, and let a peaceless world be given birth. Every hand that holds a sword can hold a baby. Every heart can learn to love. Lay down your arms, begin the journey home, and join the human family. Every hand that holds a sword can hold a baby. Every heart can learn to love. Lay down your arms, begin the journey home, and join the human family. Hum with me. The road is long and steep. What we sow, we reap. Children need you. Let us lead you. Promises we made, we all must keep. V'chitetu harvotam lehitim, v'chal mitotehem lemad
וכיתתו חרבותם להיטיב, וחניתותיהם למזמרות. לא יסגור גוי אל גוי חרב, ולא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. לא יישא גוי אל גוי חרב, ולא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. Somewhere deep inside a soldier's heart's a dreamer, dreaming of a world of peace. Lay down your arms, let time heal every wound, and love will someday set us free.
Thank you so much for joining us on Mizmor Monthly. Again, I want to thank my colleague Asher Farber on piano as well as to Cal for operating the Zoom and operating the tech this evening for our program. We're going to conclude with a very famous song, Shir LaShalom, lyrics by Yaakov Rutblit and music by Yair Rosenblum. This obviously was the song that was a song of peace. It was at a rally on November 4th, 1995, when the vocalist Miri Aloni, the groups, different groups, and Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin led the crowd in singing Shir LaShalom. Just after this rally ended, Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated, and in his shirt pocket was found a page with the song's lyrics, these songs' lyrics stained with his blood. It's a very powerful song, but it's a song of peace and hope as well. And it's the 10th song. Cal, please put it on the screen. I think many people know this song. Please feel free to sing along with us. Shir LaShalom.
תנו לשמש לעלות, לבוקר להאיר, חזקה שבתפילות אותנו לא תחזיר. מאשר קבר נרו ובעפר נטמן, בחימה לא יאירו, לא יחזירו לכאן. איש אותנו לא ישיב, מבור תחתית אפל, כאן לא יועילו לו שמחת הניצחון ולא שירי הלל. Join. לכן רק שירו שיר לשלום, אל תלחשו תפילה. לכן רק שירו שיר לשלום בצעקה גדולה. תנו לשמש לחדור מבעד לפרחים, אל תביטו לאחור, הניחו להולכים. שאו עיניים בתקווה, לא דרך כוונות. שירו שיר לאהבה ולא למלחמות. אל תגידו יום יבוא, הביאו את היום, כי לא חלום הוא בכל הכיכרות. הריעו רק שלום, לכן רק שירו שיר לשלום, אל תלחשו תפילה. לכן רק שירו, שיר לשלום, בצעקה גדולה. לכן רק שירו, שיר לשלום, אל תלחשו תפילה. לכן רק שירו, שיר לשלום, בצעקה גדולה.
Chodesh Mevorach, have a wonderful, prosperous month of Cheshvan. It is a bitter month, but there are always signs of hope at the end of the flood, at the end of the exile in this month. Join us again for next month, in the first Tuesday of the month, for when we will be presenting music in the month of Kislev. Have a wonderful evening. Chodesh Mevorach, everyone.
Thank you very much.